Hey everybody, and welcome to September's edition of my board game buys. So this is a series where I talk about all the games I've picked up in a specific month, and just to give you a heads up about what to expect in terms of upcoming reviews and what's potentially coming into the collection. So the first game I've talked about this month, or I've picked up this month, is Kanagawa. This is an older Bruno Cathala game, I say older, only a few years old now, by Yellow. And I will say this game's been on my radar for quite some time because of the stunning cover here. It's got beautiful artwork. This is a game where you're basically painting this big kind of panoramic picture of these watercolours, and then you're scoring points in lots of different ways depending on different things you collect. So it really is kind of one of those kind of point salad-y style games where you score points in a ton of different ways. And but I just love the visuals and the theme of this one, and it really has just piqued my interest because of this beautiful aesthetic. I'm not normally the biggest fan of Cathala games, but I think out of all of them, this one looks the most promising and most suitable for my tastes. So that is Kanagawa. Next up, I have pretty much a brand new game with Allegory. Allegory is by Calliope. This one is, I suppose, an auction or a bidding set collection style game where you're kind of collecting these cards, and I believe it has some kind of Knizia scoring mechanism where only the lowest in a certain suit will win or will score you points. And it also has some weird mechanism where I think your previous bids in former rounds affect the future round or the next turn. So that sounds quite interesting. You know, I love set collection, I love bidding, I love that kind of Knizia scoring. So who knows, this one could be a hit. That is Allegory. Next up, I have Hit the Silk. So I believe this was just fulfilled on Kickstarter. I don't know too much about this one because it was a purchase by my brother. This is a kind of a take that style, deception, kind of social deduction style game as you are trying to acquire money and a parachute to get off this this tanking aeroplane. So quite a cool theme. I'm not quite sure how I feel about the mechanisms, etc. Not normally my cup of tea, with some take that, etc. and just playing wild cards and just doing weird things. But who knows? That can sometimes be a sleeper hit and can be better than I think it's going to be. So that is Hit the Silk. Next up, I have Rajs of the Ganges, the Dice Charmers. So this is the roll and write version of Rajs of the Ganges, which is a board game I really enjoyed by the Brands. This one has received some pretty good feedback from the kind of reviewing community. I think it's regarded as one of the best roll and write games, and I got it for a good price. It's very affordable, and I believe it still uses that kind of that mechanism where you're trying to connect the road with the outer kind of edges. So it sounds pretty cool, and I'm really intrigued to try this one because I did like Rajs of the Ganges. I didn't love it, but who knows, this could maybe capture a lot of that magic, but in a lot shorter and a lot more succinct experience. So that is Rajs of the Ganges, the Dice Charmers. Next up, I have a very small box with Startups. So you can probably tell straight away, this is from Oink Games. And this game is actually, I've heard some good things about this one from some other content creators. This is almost a kind of commodity speculation and stock holding style game, as you have all these different companies represented by these different cards, and you're trying to kind of be the majority stakeholder in those cards, because then anybody who doesn't have as many cards as you do has to pay you points, basically. Sounds really cool, some really clean mechanisms there. Some good kind of incentive building as you neglect things and build kind of resources on cards the more they get neglected. I really like the sound of this one, and I think this one is going to be to my taste. So that is Startups. Next up, another recent Kickstarter fulfillment with Mr. Cabbage Head's Garden. So this is more of a solo game. However, there is a two-player version of this one you can play. I believe this is a kind of a set collection-y kind of pattern building style game, as you're building, I suppose, a little garden made of all your vegetables. I know this is regarded as one of the best solo games. Really quick. I think it only takes about 15-20 minutes to play. There we go, 15-20 minutes. And I think if I'm going to play a solo game, I'd rather play something like this. So I'm more than excited to give this one a try, and I think it's going to be good. And maybe a bit too random and has some kind of chaotic elements to it, but sometimes that's all right. And I don't think that's going to put me off trying Mr. Cabbage Head's Garden. Next up, I have a couple of expansions. to Seven Wonders Duel. I got both the expansions, so this is Seven Wonders Duel Agora and Pantheon. So these add obviously more depth to the Seven Wonders Duel game, the 2-player only version of Seven Wonders. This one introduces God's powers, where you're trying to basically use these powers to manipulate the board state and do different things, and you can basically tactically pass on doing actions. Again, I had nothing but good things about Pantheon. And Agora, which is the newest one, this has a new victory condition where you have this kind of council and you are basically trying to get majorities, I think. It's got some kind of area majority mechanism, which of course the original one didn't have. It'd be interesting to see how much these add, if it keeps the game feeling as smooth as it already is, and if they can even be merged together to create a kind of an ultimate experience. So I'm looking forward to kind of experimenting with how I'm going to get the optimal experience from Seven Wonders Duel. Next up, I have Great Plains. So this is the next game by Benjamin and Gilbert, who, if you're kind of a regular watcher of my channel, designed Mandala, which is the game I've been really raving about recently. This is by Lookout Games, another strictly 2-player game. This one has it's a lot more simple than Mandala, I think, and you basically have this map of these different tiles. They're randomly sorted, and then you are going to be placing either these snakes or foxes, depending on which player you are, and trying to claim majorities on these different kind of light green areas. However, when you go to certain other regions, you can collect these little bonus powers. Has almost kind of a Reiner Knizia style, like a Blue Lagoon, a Through the Desert or Babylonia vibe, where you're just kind of placing things out and spreading your little network. But I played this one already, and I'm kind of being a bit coy not to give away my opinion, but my review will be dropping very shortly for Great Plains. Next up, I have My Farm Shop. So I made a video recently talking about games that I'm excited to play, and My Farm Shop was a prominent part of that video. So this is a really good Dawn game, who's one of my favourite designers. Not my favourite box cover. It looks a bit kiddie. It looks a bit catered towards children. However, this is a spin on the Machikoro space-based mechanism where you're rolling dice and activating different cards. I'm still yet to find the game that I really enjoy using that mechanism. I was very underwhelmed by both Machikoro and Space Base, but I know a lot of people are saying that My Farm Shop is an improvement on those games, and with that extra kind of reassurance of being designed by really good Dawn, I'm hoping that's the case. So I'm excited to try this one out. I don't know how it's going to go. This is going to go one way or another. But yeah, glad to finally have My Farm Shop at my disposal. And the next game is something that I bought just a complete whim. This is Drop It. So this is, of course, by Cosmos. This is a dexterity style game, almost in that Connect 4 style system where you have this vertical piece of equipment here, and you're putting these different shapes in the top, which gets trapped in the middle, and you're trying not to touch colour by colour or shape by shape. It's very silly, but it's actually pretty good fun. So a spoiler alert there. I got this very cheap and just trying it out at the moment and having a lot of fun out of it. So anybody can play this one. So light and just very kind of mass production style or mass market feel to it. But that doesn't take away from it from being fun. So that is Drop It. And next up, I have Juicy Fruits. So Juicy Fruits is another 2021 release. This one is a pretty, I suppose you'd call it a medium-light style game, a really interesting resource management style game, as you are basically playing one of these kind of spatial puzzles where you're sliding things up and down, and the further you move them, the more resources you get. So it's got one of those kind of puzzly style vibes, which you might have played when you were kids, when you're trying to kind of move things around to make a picture. But in this one, you're using it to get resources, you're fulfilling contracts, and getting as many points as you can. So very accessible. I have played this one, so another one where the review is dropping very shortly. And I was really excited to try this one because I think this one's got a lot of scope in terms of who can play this one. It's got some pretty Euro-style mechanisms, but still more than digestible for anyone to play and enjoy. That is Juicy Fruits by Deep Print and PSC. And the penultimate game I want to talk about is Clover. So another 2021 release. I'm getting some good new games in here. This one is by Amigo, who most famously made Just One, and this is almost a spin on Just One, another party game, another cooperative party game. And in this one, instead of kind of one person writing the clue and everyone guessing, you are going to have one of these Clover sheets, which are these kind of these plastic devices here, and you're going to plug in these word clue cards in each of the 4 sections, and then where the 2 words kind of meet up, or that corresponding Clover, you are going to write a clue. And then you're going to take all these off, you're going to mix them up, add another one in, and then all the other players or your teammates are trying to kind of reorganize them and put them back into position to show where they should have been to try and match those clues. So very simple idea, another really nice extremely accessible style game that anybody can play. And is this going to be as big of a hit as Just One? I don't know. So stay tuned for a review on Clover. And the final game is, I'm just going to use a digital image here because I've already packed it up because it's going to be leaving the house already. That is Dark Ages by Board and Dice. This is the big Euro 4X game, and that I've been really excited to play. I have got it played, my review's already out, so go check them out. Needless to say, I wasn't massively impressed with it. I did like it, but it just had a few too many things wrong with it that's going to prevent it from staying in the collection. So that concludes this video of my September board game buys. I know there's quite a few days of the month left. However, I don't think I'm going to be picking anything else up this month, and if I do, it'll just go into next month's edition. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time.